Welcome back to Boring Build Friday. We're once again working on our super cheap 2003 Pontiac Grand Am GT. Now the painting gnome showed up, got all of it painted up for us, so now we're going to throw it back together so it's ready to take on the salt this winter. Let's get started. So we'll start putting our filler neck back in. Put the pocket in. Slides in. Then the back clips in. Got a couple push-in retainers that hold it to the filler neck. Now I put our gas door on. Tighten up the 2 bolts. Now we can put our filler cap on. Hold the strap in place and then clip it in. Done. Now onto the antenna. Put the grommet in. Push it into place. Slide the antenna inside. There's a groove inside, so you just slide it in until it clips into place. Then push it till it's flush. And you can bolt it in. Screw the antenna on. Now onto the doors. Put our front door handle in. Slide the rod down in there. Bolt it into place. Clip our rods in and make sure it works. Now we can put our moldings on. They just slide on. You're going to line up the holes. And 1 screw. Put our rear trim on. Put the 2 screws in it. Now you put the window channel in. Slide the front end, start in the corner. Work our way down the back and across the top. Now put our belt molding on. Slides in the front. Then clip it down. Fun fact, the mirrors in Grand Ams are not determined by trim level. GM started using this style mirror in mid-2002, so these are the correct mirrors for this car. Sorry, experts. And drop our glass in. Set it in the front, then tip it down into the back, into the channel. We're all good. Slide it down into the regulator and bolt it in. Bolt in our mirror. Put our little piece of foam in there to keep it from leaking air or water. Then put our window sweep in. Now onto our rust proofing. At least one part of this car won't rot out. Snap our speaker back in. We had that out just so we get our rust proofing in there. The door panel back on. Slide it into the groove in the top. Snap it in. 1 screw behind the switches. 1 under the handle. Put in the handle bezel. Tighten it up. Plug in our switches. Snap them in. Put in our mirror cover, which is also a speaker, and test the window. Put in the last bolt under the reflector and snap the reflector in. Now onto the back door. Put the door handle in there, tighten it up. Clip it in and make sure it works. Now put our molding around the top. Line it up and put in the screw. Push the rest of it into place. Now you can put the little glass in the back end. Just slides in. Snap it in with our window installation tool. Then run the rest of the window channel. Drop the glass in. Set it down on the regulator. Then you put the trim up on the front of the window. You have to have this out so you can get the glass to slide down in there. Screw it in. Now you can put our channel in there. Put the belt molding on. Slides in the back. Then push down. Snap it in. Bolt in our windows. Then put our window sweep in. Check and make sure the window works. Look at that. 2 for 2. A little more rust proofing. 2 parts that won't rust out in the car. Put our water barrier back up. Drop our door panel on. Clip it in. Put our handle bezel on. Screw it in. 1 screw behind the switch. Plug the switches in. Snap them in. 1 screw underneath the handle. And 1 screw behind the reflector, which I don't have, so I'll have to go to Scott's Grand Am Emporium and pick one up. Somebody's been here before. GM's awesome design was to put a couple little tabs in here. And they snap right off. These little collars, last time I bought one, were like 15 bucks. But I found a way to fix them that works perfectly. So we're going to do that. It's pretty simple. We're just going to replace the little tabs that are broken off with some screws. So there's supposed to be 3 of them. I'll drill a couple holes right where the old ones were. Hardest part about this is not drilling your fingers. So there you go. If I had some shorter screws, I would have used those, but now it'll push up against the light bulb with these little tabs with the ends of the screws, and you only have to fix it once. Like I said, if you had shorter screws, the screws would be bottomed out. It would look even better, but this will work, so we're going with it. Alright, so now we can put the light back in. Snap in all the bulbs. I did check on to make sure they all worked, so I don't have to do this again. Slide the light in. Make sure all the retainers go all the way into the brackets. So that's what those tabs are supposed to look like, till the first time you change the light bulb. Then they look like the other one. Plug in our other light. Clip it into place. Make sure all the adjusters end up in the bracket and are locked in. Otherwise you end up with a light that's aimed up in the trees. And we're ready to put the bumper on. Yes, the headlights go on before the bumper. You can take them off the other way, but this is actually the right way. I put about 20 of these bumpers on before I figured that out. Bolt the bumper to the fender on both sides. I'll put a little cavity wax in the bottom of the fender. Another area where these are prone to rust out. That's 3 parts that won't rust out in this car now. Now we can put in everybody's favorite fender liners. Clip them all in. Couple bolts. Couple push pins in the bottom of the front bumper. I'll put our fender liner in the passenger side. Put all our push pins in. And we'll put the closeout panel on, under the front bumper. Put our push pins in. Now onto the rear bumper. Put our brackets up on the top. Screw them in. One on each side. Drop in our reverse lights. Because it wasn't enough to have just the ones in the taillights. We needed some in the bumper too. One on the other side. Put in the license plate light. Tighten it up. Put our license plate retainers. And we'll put the screws in there so we don't lose them. Now we have the brackets on the sides. Screw those in. Now we're ready to put the bumper on. Set the bumper up there and try not to scratch it so I don't have to upset the painting gnomes. Plug in the license plate light. Clip the bumper in with our bumper installation tool. Put the push pins in across the top. Now it's time to undercoat our seam sealer, make it look factory. Should be dry. It's been like 3 weeks. Spray a little undercoating on there. Look at that, 4 parts of the car that won't rust. Actually, undercoating doesn't keep it from rusting. It'll just keep it from getting chipped. The primer and the paint underneath, that'll keep it from rusting. Now put the push pin in the rear bumper in the quarter and bolt that bracket in. Now onto the wheel liner. These have to be the easiest wheel liners ever. 2 push pins in the corner, 1 bolt. There's one more that goes into the rocker molding, but we'll get that later. Now we can bolt our bumper bracket in on the other side. And run the wheel liner in there. Plug in our reverse lights. Put in our push pin through the bumper into the reinforcement. A couple more in the center. And 1 more on the passenger side. And now onto a little rust proofing. We're going to coat the inside of these rockers with some cavity wax. This will be the only Grand Am on the road in 5 years that still has rockers. Might be the only Grand Am on the road in 5 years. We'll just route it all the way in there, squeeze the trigger and pull it out slowly. Get a nice coating inside there. This is cavity wax, not fluid film. I have used fluid film and I don't like it. The cavity wax is one and done. You don't have to reapply it. The fluid film was kind of an annual thing, and once you use fluid film, you can't switch to cavity wax because you'll never get it all out of there and the cavity wax will never adhere. So I prefer this method because I don't really have time every year to keep reapplying fluid film, but I have tried it. And if that's all that's available to you, it's better than nothing. Put our plugs back in. Put the retainers back in the bottom of the molding. Now onto the passenger side. This side's a little easier because the rocker molding's out of the way. Put the wand in there, pull it out. You can see the mist coming out. That's from inside the rocker. Just make sure we get the whole thing. So 5 years from now, the rocker might be the only thing left. Look at that. What is that? 5 parts of the car that won't rust out now? Since the molding's off, we'll use the retainer holes. Get some more wax in there. Put our plugs back in. And we put a nice coating on the fuel and brake lines. Because if it's one job I get tired of in the Midwest, it's replacing rotted out fuel and brake lines. So a little coating of wax will make sure I don't have to do that for a while. It's like 6 parts that won't rust out. Now we can bolt our bumper back in. And then put our taillights in. Plug them in. Set them into place. And tighten them down. Put the trunk liner back up and put the retainer in. Now onto the other side. Plug the light in. Set it into place. Screw in the retainers. Get upset that I have to do one by hand, like a caveman. Tighten it down. Stuff the liner back in there. Put our retainer in. One more retainer on the back. Now onto our rocker molding. When you're putting the moldings on the sides of these cars, the rocker moldings go first. So line up all the clips on the bottom. Get them all started so you don't miss one, like the manufacturer did on the other side. But it hasn't bothered me enough to take it apart and fix it yet. It'll just remind me, the manufacturers are not always perfect. Pull off the 2-sided tape. Line up the holes in the front of the molding where they go through the fender. And stick the molding up. Now we're going to do the same thing on the back. Pull off the 2-sided tape. Line up the holes inside the wheel well. And push the molding on. Put one of the little retainers in. Make sure it's stuck. Actually had a nice sunny day out. Perfect for putting moldings on. We'll put our retainers across the bottom. Now we're going to use our OEM molding alignment tool. So this is why we put the rocker molding on first. The holes in the fender and the quarter align the molding. So once we got that on, we just run that tape across the top. And that'll align our door moldings. If we put our door moldings on first and they're not exactly in the right spot, we're going to have a hard time lining them up with our rocker moldings. Now that that's all set up, we can put our moldings on. Peel the backing off all the 2-sided tape. Throw all the scraps on the ground. Part of my 12-step Clean Freak rehab program. Line up the top of the molding, then push it on. Now onto the front. Throw more stuff on the ground. Line up the molding on the top. Space it out side to side. And stick it on. Pull off our molding alignment tool and make sure the molding's on there. We'll put the black moldings in later. I just want to get the freshly painted parts onto the car. Oh man, the Clean Freak comes out. Looks like it's back to step 1. So these block off plates and these grates are supposed to be black. But when they're in there, you can't really see the grates. So we painted these white so they'll show off against the black. Now there's a couple of screws in there and then they get glued in. And it's kind of difficult to do it with the hood up. So we're just going to take the hood off. Now we don't have to realign it because, like I said, these cars are easy to work on. Take 2 bolts out, take the hood off, do our work on it, and put it right back where it was. So let's get the hood off. Look at that, Mr. Spotty showed up. So we'll pull our screws out of the back of the hinge. You do this with the hood closed. Slide them out of there. And the hood's ready to come off. Couldn't be simpler. Oh look, the afternoon crew showed up. Mr. Spotty must have brought her. So we'll pop the hood. Got a piece of cardboard we're going to set on the latch just so it won't latch. And now we can lift it off. Now you can put the grates and the backing plates on. Screw them in. Now the other side. Now we're going to glue them in. This is windshield urethane. Great stuff. Holds pretty much anything in. It's very close to what the factory uses. So we're going to put it on there. Just run a bead all the way around it. So we'll smooth it out with our finger. That's why I'm doing the Michael Jackson one glove thing. Because although windshield urethane does hold anything together, it does not come off very easily. I do leave spaces at the bottom on the two edges, just so water can get through there. Not much, just a little bit. Because if you don't, if you've ever seen these from the factory, the little metal plates like to rot out in the corners, because water gets trapped in there. So this way the water can get out, and it keeps those plates from rusting. So we'll smooth out the other side. Now you can put the hood back on. Set the back into place. Push it in. Put our bolts in. Tighten them up. I think those grates look much better than just black slots. But that's just my opinion. I have painted other ones blue and silver, depending on the car color. But white was easy, and we already had it mixed. So these are going white. So that's it for today. We got all of our parts on our car, enough to drive it out here to the storage building. We still got some stuff to finish up. It needs a good cleaning. It needs a bumper molding. Needs some brakes, oil change, some other maintenance work. I haven't decided if I'm going to fix the dash yet or not. We'll see how much it bothers me. But it's going to be sitting for the next 3 months, so there's no point in rushing to do all the other work because it's not going anywhere. So instead, we'll start on some other projects. So to answer the question I know I'm going to get, here's the Mustang. Now I know a lot of people wanted to see the Mustang, but the weirdest thing happened. I didn't feel like working on it, so I worked on what I wanted to work on. Now that that's out of the way, maybe we'll get back to this. So like this video if you found it interesting, share it if you think somebody else might, subscribe to see what I feel like working on next week. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.